Well, it's time for episode 301 of the 3 Point Podcast. As always, we are presented by the Memorial Healthcare Wellness Center. Check out memorialhealthcare.org for everything they offer, including discounts for 2024. We also want to thank our great other partners, AZee Branding Solutions, Jacobs Insurance Agency, Kori Associates Real Estate Services, Nelson House Funeral Homes, Rivals Taphouse and Grille, Success Group Mortgage and Servicing. And remember, anytime that you get a chance to tell our sponsors that you listen to this podcast and hear their message, they certainly appreciate it. Guys, we're going to kind of mix things up a little bit. We're going to jump right in to the Prep Spotlight presented by Jacobs Insurance Agency. And we'll start with the young fella, Jared, who happened to check out maybe the best game in the state, maybe this month. Tell us a little bit about Freeland and Langsburg game. And Xander Woodruff is for real, isn't
he? Yeah, it was a very highly anticipated matchup, especially in our area, in this mid-Michigan, Saginaw area. Undefeated Langsburg, one loss Freeland, 16-1 versus 17-0 heading into it. And I mean, it lived up to the billing. It was a bit gut-wrenching for me to watch. I felt like when I was walking out of the gym once Freeland had lost, I felt like I had lost the game. But other than that, it was, I mean, it lived up to the billing, man. I mean, you had a 52-point ball from Xander Woodruff. I mean, he is the real deal. You said it. Can score from all three levels, three-pointer, maybe four levels, really. I mean, he has like Steph Curry range, mid-range, and then he can get to the hole as well. Just impressive. I've never seen, like, that's the highest score performance I've ever seen in person. I had 40 scored on me one time. And it's kind of funny, man. When you're in the game, it doesn't, you're just going with it. It's a close game. Freeland and Langsburg are back and forth. Next thing you know, you look at the scoreboard. I think he scored like 16 in a row down the stretch. Freeland was up by 9. And then he hit a big step back 3, and then Langsburg called a quick timeout to cut it to 6. And then the snowball effect just started going in from there. But awesome game. It really was like an NBA game the way Freeland had Huckabee. I can't find final stats for this game anywhere. We were just talking how I don't know if there was any media member in attendance, which is kind of surprising.
Mind blowing.
Yeah, and so I don't know what his numbers ended up being. Once the game was over, I was just kind of had my head in my hands. So Huckabee had like, I want to say like 35, 36, and who knows, man, maybe 8 or 9 threes. And then Xander Woodruff had 52, probably 5 or 6 threes. So just watching those two guys go back and forth was just impressive. It was just, it reminded you why you love high school basketball. It was, everybody in the crowd was living and dying on every single shot. They're going up and down the floor. It almost felt like a college level game with the amount of talent on the court. So just a lot of fun to watch. Wish it would have had a little bit of a different result, but happy for Langsburg. I mean, 19-0, seemed to have a premier player that can maybe, get them over the hump and get them to the Breslin. They got to the quarters last year. But wow, they're looking good. And what a big, kind of litmus test for both teams, really. I mean, that's an undefeated Langsburg team that's pretty damn good. And Freeland probably is kicking themselves thinking they should have won that game. And Langsburg ends up winning the game. So really just a good game down the stretch. And it's going to be exciting to see what these two teams do in the tournament here in a week or two.
We should preface a little bit for our Langsburg fans why Jared was a little depressed. His brother, John, is the head coach of Freeland. Right. So we want to get that out there right now. So blood's thicker than anything else. But heck of a game for sure. And, even though Freeland took it on the chin, I think Coach John there probably learned a few things that he has to get ready for the tournament, because you're going to see some teams, especially if you go deep in the tournament, that have talent, maybe not as good as Woodruff, but up there, and you're going to have to stop these big players.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me hearing you talk about it. You remember back in like the mid 2000s when LeBron scored that 25 straight points against the Pistons, and as fans we're sitting there watching like, please do something against this guy. Please double him, triple him, do something. Sometimes, so I'd be curious what, that team, when they look back, like, man, do we wish we would have done this or that? I wonder if your brother, is looking back thinking maybe they could have ran a different defense at Woodruff. Maybe they could have done a little something different, or maybe it's just that he was going off. He was in the zone, and it's almost like there's nothing you could do when a player, 52 points, 34-36 for the Freeland player is a lot. Right. 52 in a high school game is a lot of points against a really good team. It's not like Freeland is, a bunch of schmucks that it's easy to score against. 52 points is a lot to put up in, basically a playoff basketball game,
Right.
So that's impressive. And head coach, Langsburg's coach last week told us, Tim Beebe, that they wanted games like this because they felt like last year when they started making their run, maybe they got shell shocked a couple times going up against, better teams and then the team that they ended up losing to. So I think maybe I wonder if this gives the team like a pretty big confidence boost. Like,
right.
Hey, look at this.
Definitely.
We can beat anyone.
Right.
Yeah.
You would think it would. I mean, that's why that was an awesome game where it fell on the schedule, kind of perfectly fit, really, where you have this big game you get psyched up for. And then, I mean, Freeland plays again tonight against, I think, a 15-2 Sanford Meridian team. So it's they're right back at it. So, but yeah, so you build up for this game. Lanesburg had a big test before the tournament. Now they're rolling, they're really supremely confident, I would think.
Yeah.
The
only bummer.
I
was going to say, Jared, the only bummer, we talked about it off air a little bit, a Monday night game. I mean, this would be a prime Saturday night matchup, man. These two teams would pack that gym, pack in the media. I mean, this time of year, that's the only bummer about it that I saw.
For sure. And there was talks to maybe play it on a Saturday. For whatever reason, they landed on a Monday. And I mean, it was the crowd, it was about 75% full. But if it was, maybe a Thursday or Friday or a Saturday, it would have been standing room only. And it's funny, you get in these small gyms and it still felt like a pretty damn good atmosphere, especially down the stretch as the Lanesburg crowd kind of started coming back with that 16-0 run. They started making themselves heard. So it was looking back, I was like, after the first hour and I kind of, decompressed and, you get over it and you're on to the next game. It's like, man, that was just a really, really fun game. And I'm glad I was there to watch it.
Yeah, like you said, it sounds like one of those perfect high school basketball games. I mean, there is something cool about high school basketball in a smaller gym, even if it is only 75% full, still really loud. Everyone's standing up, going crazy. Freeland student section was probably going crazy the whole time. So it sounds like an awesome time. I was going to say, before you jump into your notes, Ted, I did see this morning, the D Zone tweeted out that there's only 7 undefeated teams remaining in boys varsity basketball. Wow. Lanesburg and Chesaning obviously being 2 of them. Yeah. So that's kind of crazy. We've had both their coaches on, but I mean, that had to be, you don't want to now, because Lanesburg probably has 2 or 3 games left in the regular season?
2, I believe. Yeah.
Yeah. You don't want to live too high on this one and then slip up against, some team that you probably should have beat. But you got to think that they're going to be going into the playoffs probably with no losses.
Yeah.
Well, if you think about they went 23-1 last year, lost 1 game in quarters. Now they're going to be probably 20-0 heading into the tournament this year. At most, they're going to have 1 loss. I mean, quite a 2-year run for the Lanesburg basketball program.
Yeah. I mean, like I told Coach Beebe, man, that is a basketball school over there in Langsburg. I mean, they're good in other sports too, but man, they really have put up some numbers, starting with Greg Mitchell and then going on to Morrill and now Beebe. I mean, they're doing a great job over there. Some of the other, you talked about Chesaning. They downed New Lothrop last Friday and they stay perfect, 18-0. Corunna down Clio 74-60, had a little slow start, but Braylon Socha lit it up in the second half for 25 points. That was the Castle game of the week. Durand now 14-4 after a 9-point win over Mount Morris. Markel Tate check this stat line, boys. He had 27 points, 12 rebounds, 8 blocks, 7 steals, and 4 assists. That's not a bad evening in the gym.
It's an all-around game.
Yeah, absolutely. In girls basketball, number 10 Ovid down Byron with ease, 64-10. Marauders now 13-2. Clio edged out the Corunna Cavaliers 30-29. Gracie Tremere had 13 in that one. In swimming, Owasso 96-90 over Fenton. Blake Binger had a couple of W's. Chesaning swam past Alma 99-69. The Indians now 7-3. And finally, here's another stat for you. New Lothrop won their 29th straight wrestling district title. 29 straight. Unbelievable. What a dynasty they have over there, huh?
That doesn't even make any sense. 29 straight districts. How was there not 1 year in there that
I know
some other team came into the district and had a couple studs and like that? That's the definition of a dynasty for sure.
Yeah.
It's not even one coach
program. Yeah,
that's probably over 3, 4, 5 coaches that have taken over that program during that duration too. So, they love to wrestle out there. They love to wrestle and they love to play football, and it shows.
Absolutely. Well, Dalton Birchmeyer and Jack Kolhanek both both picked up their career wins, number 100 in that one. Well, that's going to about do it for the Prep Spotlight, fellas. I think we need to have a little Super Bowl conversation coming up next, right after this. All right, guys, I'll start it off. As you know, I had made my plans to come out to the Super Bowl about 9 months ago with the little bit of an inkling of the Lions making it. There were some jeers. There were some people saying, yeah, right. But I will say this, they came awful close, didn't they? A half away from being in the Super Bowl. And the way I figured it when I booked my trip, okay, if they make it, I'm set. I get to go hang out and tailgate and just do the whole Lion experience. Don't make it, I still get to do the Super Bowl experience and be in Vegas. So it really was kind of a win-win for me. So it was everything I thought it would be. I mean, as you saw, you posted on Twitter, I mean, got a chance to meet Barry Sanders and actually talk to him. I had my Since 57 jersey on. I was a little bit nervous thinking he might think I'm dissing the team and the franchise. First thing out of his mouth was, "I love your jersey." I couldn't believe it.
Who snapped the photo of you? It was a great picture. You guys locked in hands, shaking hands. Who snapped that photo?
Well, it was, and I'm not going to lie, it was a paid autograph session, right? it was Field of Dreams. You had to go into Field of Dreams and buy some merch, and then you could get in line and get your autograph. So we did. I bought an 8x10 picture. I had my jersey on. Here's the fun story. And when I talked to the guy when I bought the picture, I said, "Hey, you think there's any chance he'd sign this jersey?" He says, "Well, you can ask him if he's willing to. Sure." So we get in line, we get up there, and then it's very well organized. They have people that are working the table there, and they said, "Give me your camera, we'll take pictures." I probably got 20 pictures on my camera, similar. And when he said, "I love your jersey," and then my wife was with me, she goes, "Hey, you think he'll sign it?" I said, "Hey, Barry, would you sign my jersey?" And I started peeling it off because he said, "Sure." And then the organizer said, no.
What's the problem? Why would there be a big deal? Is it because of what it said? Is that why you didn't sign it?
No,
I would assume they want you to only sign stuff that you buy there.
Absolutely
would be my assumption.
Because I said, okay, I didn't make a big deal about it. And then I walk away, after I'd met him and talked with him for a little bit. And then I asked, well, how much would it be to sign the jersey? And this girl says, probably $7.99. I said, $799? No thanks. So anyway, but that was very cool.
Yeah, that is cool. I know. I think I've told you guys before. I did meet him one time when he was in Bristol up at ESPN doing a bunch of interviews. I tracked him down basically and bumped into him. I feel like he's probably that way. So I told him I'm a Lions fan, of course, lifelong Lions fan. Right. And we talked for, a good 10 minutes or whatever. I didn't want to take up too much of his time, but I feel like he's probably that way, probably with anyone, even if it was a 49ers fan or a Chiefs fan there for that signing.
Yeah.
But especially Lions fans. I'm sure if you tell him you've been a Lions fan your whole life, almost 70 years, and you've seen it all, basically, he probably would have talked to you for a half hour if he could have. He just seems like just a really nice guy, a really humble, cool guy, especially to Lions fans.
Well, yeah, he's there making money too, but he's totally down to earth. I mean, he looked up at me, said, "Hey, what's your name? What's your wife's name?" Talk to us for that was a couple minutes, which was very cool. And I fanboyed a little bit, I have to admit. Here's the greatest running back of all time in the NFL, and I'm chatting with him, and it was cool. It was a great Super Bowl experience. And then coming in later on, my wife's favorite player of all time is Lawrence Taylor, and he was there doing the same thing. We did not go through and get an autograph, but we did take a few pictures. But
that'd be cool. How did she end up Lawrence Taylor being her favorite player of all time?
Well, she lived out east in the Baltimore area, and everybody out there was like Washington fans or Raven fans, and she just got annoyed with it. And she said, "Well, I'm going to become a Giant fan." Okay. And she just followed the Giants. She's always been a Giant fan, and LT was her guy. And really, when you think about it, we have the greatest running back of all time in many people's opinion, and probably maybe the greatest defensive player of all time, arguably greatest linebacker, right? Yep. Lawrence Taylor. That'd be cool. I highly recommend anybody that gets a chance to go to a Super Bowl and participate in all the activities, because it's all NFL stuff, man. Everybody walking around Vegas was wearing jerseys. It was incredible.
How many times did you replay the second half of that Lions 49ers game as you were walking around seeing all the 49ers gear and the fact that really what should have been one hell of a week, which still was, and you still had a good time and you made the most of it at Super Bowl week, but had to have definitely kind of knocked it down a peg, the fact that your sweet Lions weren't there, because man, that would have lined up perfectly.
Well, it did. And you know, it also, I'm not one that I can appreciate people saying, "Oh, it's too bad about your Lions and this and that." And I was getting a lot of that, and that just kept rubbing it in. You know,
Right.
like I had to say, "Yeah, they're half away. They should have won that game." And I will tell you guys this: every single person that made a comment on that Lions game said he should have kicked the field goal on that first fourth down play. Everybody's not; these weren't Lion fans; these were other fans. So I thought that was interesting. I actually had to stick up for Dan Gamble and say, you know, hey, this is what he does. I have no issue with it. Catch the ball, dude. That's all.
I saw something.
It's obviously easy to say after they did not get the fourth down conversions, but that's a whole other discussion.
I saw something on Twitter that basically, like, Las Vegas, like, although the Super Bowl was cool, they don't ever want to host it again because it scared away all, like, the big gambling sharks, and it got replaced with, like, football fans like yourself. Would you say, did you notice that it was maybe not your typical Vegas kind of crew that you normally roll around with when you go out west?
No, you know, I didn't really notice it, but that makes sense to me, you know, because I mean, all the NFL football fans really took over the casinos. There's no question about it. And you know, they're already spending big bucks out here, so they're probably not gambling as much as you would think they would. Yeah, that's a pretty fair point. Did get a chance to see Eli and Peyton Manning at the casino. What one were they at? The Caesars Palace. They were there at the sports book, and we did do a little entertainment too on Saturday night. Saw the Beatles' "Love" Cirque du Soleil. I think that's how you say it, du Soleil. It's incredible, man. It's all Beatles music, tremendous sound, and these gymnasts that are just incredible. Gymnasts and dancers. It was well worth it. So we saw a decent show too while we were out here.
Yeah, I feel like you got to see some sort of show when you're out there. And I know Cirque du Soleil, I've seen videos. I've never seen them live, but I've seen videos, and it does look like it'd be awesome. And especially in Vegas, you know, it'd be like top notch out there. But then I've seen some people give a quick, I guess, review of Super Bowl week in Vegas, and they've said, I've seen everything you've said. Amazing. It's Vegas. Of course, it's going to be top notch. It's going to be entertainment everywhere. It's going to bring out all the stars, you know, all of that. I saw a couple people say it was almost too much. Like it was almost like overwhelming. Like it's almost better in I'm going off what other people said. Obviously I wasn't there, but they said it's almost better at a smaller city, maybe like a Nashville or maybe even a Detroit. It just stinks that the Super Bowl's in February, so the weather in Detroit's always iffy. Or even I mean Miami maybe, but you know, like they said, like Vegas, it was almost too much. Like there's almost too much going on to really like soak in being there for the Super Bowl. And I don't know if you got that. I mean, you've been to Vegas before, but I don't know if you got that vibe.
There's definitely a little bit of that, because when you go to Vegas anytime on a Friday, Saturday, the strip is packed, right? So on top of that, you bring your Super Bowl fans along with the regulars that go to Vegas. It was extra packed. That's why I stayed down on Fremont Street, and I enjoy that better than the strip, to tell you the truth. There's a lot of crazy stuff goes on down there, but it makes sense if it was somewhere else. Vegas seems like a natural, but you know, it still was entertaining and had a good time. But, you know, mainly we want to talk a little bit about the game, you know, and I got to start it off by saying, man, I was a knucklehead. I didn't even understand the overtime rule this year. and then come to find out, San Francisco doesn't apparently seem to have known the rules this year.
Unbelievable.
Right. It was weird because I remember hearing about it at the beginning of the season, or maybe, I don't know, a week or two in, that it was going to be a new overtime for playoffs. Right. Obviously, the regular season was still, you know, what it has been for a little while. But when the playoffs came around, they were going to go to this new format. And obviously, we didn't have any overtime games until the Super Bowl. So we didn't have it happen, or it didn't come up. And it seemed like a lot of people were confused. Nance and Romo were kind of like trying to go through the rules. Seemed like there might have been some confusion there. Obviously, the players. I mean, we were texting. We didn't know what the heck was going on. It was like It basically they should have just basically said it's like college rules for the most part. You know, everyone gets a chance no matter what. But it was definitely it was a good game for sure. Anytime, you know, that it comes down 2-minute warning and it's a tie game and then it goes overtime, that's going to be exciting for a Super Bowl, any game, but especially for a Super Bowl. But I don't know what you guys thought. Like the rest of the game was pretty boring. I mean, you know, again, if you're a Niners or a Chiefs fan, you probably feel differently. You're locked into every single play. But as someone who wanted to see Patrick Mahomes just chucking it all over the place and Christian McCaffrey running all over the place and, you know, stuff like that, it was kind of just like, oh, man. Yeah, it was cool seeing Jake Moody break the record for like 20 minutes, and then his record got broken.
A lot of airtime.
Yeah. But yeah, it was just, I don't know. Overall, to me, it was the actual game. We'll get to the other stuff that goes on with the Super Bowl, but it was a good game, you know, not like one of the best ever to me, but again, if I was a 49ers fan or say the Lions had lost like that in the Super Bowl, I would have been pretty crushed like I was with the NFC title game.
It was probably one of the most exciting Super Bowls for me because I won a $500 square on 0-0 in the first quarter.
Yeah. Anytime you win money.
So, but other than that, I hear what you're saying.
The bet that is the easy winner every single year in the Super Bowl, and I was right there with you, Ted, is the over under for the first quarter. I don't remember what the stat was, but I swear I don't think Tom Brady ever scored a touchdown in the first quarter of any of his Super Bowls. Like, I just think there's something about the nerves. This year was like 9.5 points. Sure enough, it's under. It was a little bit weird how it happened. You know, it took some fumbles and a couple other screw ups, but it got there. Yeah, if you're San Francisco, you're sick. I mean, Kyle Shanahan clearly has some demons, it seems, in the Super Bowl. You know, three losses, including when he was a coordinator for the Falcons, couple, you know, blown leads, 10-point, and then obviously the 25-point lead that they had against the Patriots. It ended up being a great game down the stretch, and Patrick Mahomes showed you why. I mean, he's the best outside of Tom Brady, and it would not shock me if one day he passes Tom Brady. What a performance down the stretch, and it felt like once he picked up a couple of those first downs with his legs, he really sort of locked in, and he was a totally different guy the back half of that game. Yeah. But yeah, the OT, I mean, I feel like we're brushing over this, and I don't know. I haven't been watching, you know, ESPN all day yesterday, so I'm not sure if this has been a big topic of conversation. I don't know how it can. If it was Dan Campbell, it'd be all we'd be hearing about for the next, you know, 6 months, it feels like. Right. What is going on? How do you not understand the OT rules? One, how is it not picture, like, they probably have a million meetings leading up to the Super Bowl, both in your team, both with the NFL and Roger Goodell. Like, how is there not a brief kind of explanation of the overtime rules? Just perplexing. And it's funny because, Ted, I mean, you were talking about Tony Romo, and he's been getting a lot of hate. I mean, you're a play-by-play guy. You probably, you know, cringed and you know, rolled into a ball and almost died on the floor when the final touchdown was scored and Romo just wouldn't stop talking. Yeah, that's not his job. What were your thoughts on Romo, and ultimately, how do you think Jim Nantz and him are as a team? And what would you do if you're CBS? You know, I probably, and I'll let you jump in too, Matt, but me looking at it, I think they're okay. But during the game, there were some comments that were made that were just aggravating me a little bit. And Tony Romo, to me, he has energy. I'll give him that. He has plenty of energy. I like people with energy, but he just talks too much. And he did ruin the end of the game. I mean, that's a moment where Nance made his call. What do you say? Cashed it in or whatever his comment was. I think. Yeah, hit the jackpot, and then you let the crowd go. You just let it go quiet. And that's what I think most people are complaining about. Romo's one of those guys, you either love him or you hate him, right? There's really no in between. I've been out on him for a while, but he's adequate. He's there. Okay, I'd rather probably see who's the guy on Fox that we like?
Greg Olsen.
I'd rather see him there myself. I like Olsen, but that's my thought.
It will be interesting to see, Jared. You said what should CBS do? Because obviously Romo and Nance are their number one. They're a squad. But so there's Greg Olsen, who could, I mean, everyone loves, he's been fantastic. But remember, Tom Brady is supposed to have that job too. So it's like, is Greg Olsen going to be number 2 to Tom Brady, who's never done it before? Or they're not going to make Tom Brady the number 2
he's one
color guy. So what's going to happen there?
Can I ask you something, you guys, this real quick while you're still on this topic? Why did Brady take 2 years off? I understand
because Tom Brady. Because he's Tom Brady, man.
That let Olsen even settle in, to really.
Tom Brady's Tom Brady. He's not worried about. Greg Olsen could have been the greatest. Could have been John Madden in the booth. It doesn't matter. Tom Brady would have replaced him. Greg Olsen is going to take somebody's job at some point. I don't know what his contract is with Fox. It's not going to be Tom Brady's. It's going to be somebody's. Like Tony Romo, I like him, and I want him to call NFL games. I enjoy listening to him, but they were a bit sloppy down the stretch. I felt like he was trying to over explain, pre-snap, drawing all over the screen, where in those final 5 minutes, man, just let us watch.
Right.
I'm all about learning things. It's probably right up my alley what he's doing, but even I wasn't really even vibing with it. So.
Well, that's what he
hasn't improved much. I feel like we're seeing the same guy that we saw 7 years ago. When 7 years ago we're like, oh wow, he's good now. Imagine what he's going to be when he gets some reps. It's I feel like those. It's he's the same guy.
Yeah, he came in obviously basically right off the playing field and knew everything that was going on because he had just played. Now he almost comes off like he doesn't do his homework to me.
Yeah,
and I don't know if you agree, Ted, or you too.
100% agree.
He comes off like he just shows up to the booth, and because he knows football, he played his whole life, he's just going to call the game. And, he gets it right a lot, but then there's other times where it's yeah, man, just shut up. You remember the Rose Bowl, Chris Fowler, it was perfect. And that's the first one that came to mind. When Michigan stopped Jalen Milroe, he said, landmark win for Michigan. And then just let it breathe. And you heard the band and you heard the crowd. And that's not the only example. That most of the time that's how it happens. Right. But that's my question. Romo would probably never admit it, but it almost came off like he didn't know the game was over.
Right.
Because you'd almost think if he knew that was the Super Bowl winning touchdown, he would have stopped. Give it a minute or two and then say whatever the heck you want to say. But it was almost like he didn't know that was a game-winning touchdown. Because right before he was saying something about because Andy Reid wasn't using his timeouts. And he said something like, well, you got to treat this like it's the first quarter, not the second quarter. And so that's where there was some confusion.
Yeah,
so
I don't know. He was.
Yeah, it was weird.
I don't know. He was lost, and I hate to say that. It's easy for me to, we're talking about even think about Freeland Lanesburg. It's the man in the arena. That's what I love about it is the kids playing in the game, or the guy up in the booth calling the game, and that's why I love what we do. We get to sit here and analyze it, and it's what makes this fun. But he just was struggling, man. So Ted, let me ask you this: how do you've had your fair share of partners in your days?
Yeah.
Two-part question. Let's just say Corunna's 1983 championship. We time warp you back. You have your legendary call, and then your partner does what Romo does. What is your reaction to that right after that happens? 2, if you have some what do you think Jim Nantz is telling Romo, trying to coach him up? It's don't you think that Nantz is Nantz and him seem like great friends? That's why I kind of like them as a team. And Nantz is trying his best to bring him along, it feels like. So what is it about their team that Romo's just not clicking? What do you think?
Yeah, it's hard to say. And, going back to your first question about, making a call, I probably wouldn't get too worked up about it because I don't get that. It's not that far in advance in my thought process. I think Jim Nantz, this guy is so professional, and all these top play-by-play guys, they know the moment. They got something in their mind. If Kansas City wins the game or the 49ers wins the game, there's going to be a bell tower quote that they already have thought of. Don't you guys think that?
Especially with it being in Vegas and him saying, jackpot or whatever. Right.
So I do like the pairing. Okay. I do feel a little bad for Nantz. I think Romo brings him down a little bit. And I think he truly likes him. They said, I love you, and all that, but it does bring the quality to me down a little bit. It's
almost like Romo is really trying to stake his claim, I guess, as the best color guy in football. He, you know what I mean? He's almost trying to do too much sometimes.
Yeah, kind of what makes Greg Olsen good is I think he knows I got to be in and out when I'm talking. And
perfect. You're right.
Right. I don't know. I don't know how to explain it. If I was in the booth, I wouldn't shut up. I don't. He just seems to get it. I don't know why, but that's what makes him so good, man. He just seems to have that cadence down.
You just nailed it perfectly, Jared. You got to get in. The color guys got to get in and out, make the point. Olsen does it tremendous. Aikman does it very good.
Yeah, I mean, all these guys, and even Romo's like, pretty damn good. It's just like it's Super Bowl, all eyes are on you. Like, you need to have your A game.
Right. I always think too. Yeah, you got to be in and out, but the color guy, they get their time to shine when the replay comes in and they get to actually break down the touchdown. That's like, all right, that's your time to shine. That's where you tell the audience how they scored during the play, pre-snap. Like Romo has those moments though. So I'm a little down. You said you either love or hate him. I don't love him. I still enjoy him because he is just kind of goofy and sometimes he's funny. Like there was a play where the Niners, it was in the fourth quarter, the 49ers basically brought the house and Mahomes just threw a dart over the middle for like a 25-yard gain or something. Yeah. And the clip is funny because he draws a circle and says, look at 49ers are bringing the house basically. And then right when Mahomes throws a dart, you just hear Romo basically under his breath, but obviously with a hot mic, he says like, oh, they shouldn't have done that. 25-yard gain. Wide open, he always has those that are pretty funny.
Those are good. Those are decent. I like that.
Yeah. But overall, the Super Bowl production is always going to be great, whether it's CBS, whether it's Fox. ESPN does have one coming up here in a few years. That's why they brought on Buck and Aikman. So, the Super Bowl production is always going to be awesome. But unless you guys have anything else about the game, I mean,
just
what about those commercials? Yeah, go ahead.
Before we get to commercials, just one thing. Now that we know the overtime rule, I mean, Jared, you knew it anyway. Matt, you knew it. Don't you play defense first? You absolutely do. Yeah. You have to.
I did say, I did want to say that, Jared. You said, had anyone been talking about that? I did, because I was curious too. Right. I watched Get Up for a little bit yesterday, and they were ripping Kyle Shanahan because it came out that Chiefs players said they had been talking about this every week. They have a whole segment in their meetings about overtime and what they would do with overtime. 49ers players were like, we had no idea what the heck was going on. So it's kind of a bad look for Kyle Shanahan. Because, the idea is, it's been talked about. And Shanahan kind of defended himself. He said that they saw it as get the ball, score a touchdown, and trust your defense. But, you're going against Patrick Mahomes, who was on a roll. I don't know if you want to do that.
And you're giving him 4 downs. Like, you lose it down. I'd be going first.
Right. That's the point Dan Orlovsky made. And I hadn't really thought about it the way he said it was like what you just said. With the Chiefs getting the ball second, it's 4-down territory. You have to score. So now they can't punt. After the 49ers kick the field goal, you can't punt. So you're telling Mahomes you've got 4 downs to get every single sequence of downs. And I hadn't really thought about it like that. So it was like, you don't want to do that. You take
that was worse than anything Dan Campbell did for Island. Dan Campbell made 50-50 gambles that went wrong. That was just flat out not knowing what the hell's going on, which is shocking because Kyle Shanahan seems like, and I know he's still a freaking goddamn good coach, but seems like a guy that, doesn't leave any stone unturned. So that's like what was so shocking about it. It seemed like something you would have saw, and this is just like the stereotype with Dan Campbell. It seems like something that would have happened to the Lions. And like, you don't expect it from Kyle Shanahan, who's been in the NFL since he was like 10 years old with his dad. Like, I don't know, just crazy, man. Last thing I'll say about the game, Brock Purdy, I thought he played great. I think he's a stud in this league. They shot themselves in the foot so many different ways, and he's just so poised. You can't rattle him. It's unbelievable. It's inspiring he's like 6 foot, but whatever. As a fellow short guy, it's like, wow, he's like making some tough throws out of this pocket that are just incredible. So I just wanted to give him his flowers because I really do think people will look at it as the same result that Jimmy Garoppolo had, but I really think he's a step up from that, and I think he's a Super Bowl winning quarterback. If this team stays healthy and they keep doing what they're doing, their time will come. You would hope, not for less Lions fans, but
I don't hope.
Right. Yeah, the step the step up from him, Garoppolo, is he can run. We saw Purdy running against the Lions, and I was saying the whole time watching that game, the Super Bowl, I was like, why is he choosing not to run now? He chose to run all over the Lions and had like 60 yards rushing, but he only rushed for like 8 yards against the Chiefs. So
I think what I was seeing or reading was basically that the Lions basically had, if you remember that game, the Lions almost like never blitz, and that's kind of been their MO all year with Aaron Glenn, is they rarely blitz. We bitched about it all the time. Right. But but the Chiefs were basically sending blitzes every snap and just manning up on the perimeter. And I think that's maybe why we saw that a little bit. Also, why maybe they gave a few more like kind of bigger plays down the field because of those blitzes. But how about one now that we are transitioning post game, Taylor Swift, Travis Kelce? I mean, that was the biggest story. It's crazy to say it, but really felt like the biggest story of the weekend was those two, their relationship. People are going to bitch about it, of course, but hard not to appreciate their on-field embrace after a Super Bowl win like that. Pretty amazing.
Especially knowing she had just had a show in Japan. So she flew all the way from Japan. I mean, when you got the money she does, it's not like she's flying Southwest from Japan. But, so she was just across the world and then flew over to Vegas and she was there for the game. No, I saw some. She was on screen for 51 or 54 seconds, less than 1% of the overall Super Bowl airtime. So for all the people that get so mad about it, I mean, to me, if that's your opinion, that's fine. But to me, it's like they're always cutting to people. I think we've talked about this before. They're cutting to fans, they're cutting to coaches. They're always cutting away to people. So when you've got someone like Taylor Swift, biggest superstar in the world right now, dating one of the best tight ends ever on the Chiefs, they're probably gonna show her a couple times. And she's there with Travis Kelce's mom. She's there with Jason Kelce. Travis's brother is in there. So like, it's not like they're literally just focused on her. So I don't know. It's just kind of goofy. One of those things. Like, why are you getting so mad about this? It's almost like there's another reason you're getting mad about it, because really it's not that big of a deal. Yeah. Right.
But I mean, what I look at it is Taylor Swift she's a genius. I mean, she has built her career because of her musical ability and also her business savvy. She knows who she's marketing to, and it's these little kids. 100%. Your daughter's got to be a Taylor Swift fan. I think. But then you see the tie-in to the Super Bowl, and you see some of the things that go on. I think more of her. I mean, she throws out an F-bomb once in a while. She'll pound a beer down.
Right.
She's a normal person. Right. She's normal.
It's funny how that chugging of a beer, that's like what everybody does. That you wonder why they do it. It's because somebody like you sees that and goes, "Wow, she's awesome."
I think it shows that she's a normal human being.
Yep.
That's me.
It's funny seeing it's funny seeing like the side by sides. Like basically, if you follow her music, how she's always had to run with her boyfriends. They never want to be seen in the public eye. It's like people are editing like side by sides of her previous relationship where they're like, covering themselves up, sprinting into the car. And then it's like just her and Travis Kelce like making out on the field. Like, you gotta love it. I mean, okay, this has to be talked about. This is another thing that's kind of been swept under the rug because they won. Travis Kelce and Andy Reid. What a wild embrace that really was. They definitely have, kind of a relationship that's clearly spanned 10 plus years. And they clearly, are buddies and respect each other, all that stuff. But wow, I've never seen something like that. Andy Reid looked like he was about to like topple over and have like a heart attack. It looked like it scared the bejesus out of him. So that was worth just noting. What a bizarre embrace that really was.
Yeah, Kelce at that point, the Chiefs weren't doing anything on offense. And I think Travis Kelce at that point had like one catch. So he was clearly not happy. And you almost wondered, did he mean to cross-check Andy Reid? Or did the emotions, he just went up to him and did bump him? Andy Reid's an older gentleman and probably got caught off guard. So,
our balance isn't what it used to be. I'll tell you that right now.
But the image of Travis Kelce, angry as all get out, looks like he's tackling Andy Reid. Doesn't look good. But after the game, I mean, you hear them. It was nothing. They're huge like, whatever. I respect this person more than anyone in the game. So,
Well, Matt, we got to hear it from you first. I think it's your era. This is your guy. I mean, Usher. What did you make of the halftime performance?
Yep. So I loved it. First and foremost, loved it. Would I put it up there as one of the best ever? Like when Snoop Dogg, Dre, Eminem, when that one happened, I was like, oh, that one, that was incredible. That was the best ever, in my opinion. This one, I'd put it like my personal, probably top 5, just because I like Usher so much. He brought out Ludacris, Lil Jon, and, Alicia Keys. The one thing I don't like, because they only get, what's the number? You guys might know. They get like, it ends up being like a 12-minute show.
Yeah, probably 12. I was to say, I think it's like 12 minutes or so.
Well, I think he got a little longer. I think it was 14 or 15 of what they said.
So yeah, you know, when you're watching it, it seems like it lasts a little while, but not that long. So they try to jam in all these songs. I wish they'd almost pick 3 songs and just sing them, or maybe 4 something. Because, you know, he's trying to get Alicia Keys in. He's trying to get Ludacris. He's trying to get Lil Jon in. I guess he did try to get Bieber in apparently, but Bieber said no. He's got some other stuff going on. But yeah, like that was one thing. Like he'd start singing one song and then, you know, he'd go to another one and I'd be like, I want to hear that whole song. So that'd be my only thing. Otherwise, no, I thought it was really good. I mean, he's such a big catalog of hits. I mean, he's a great performer too, dancing and ripping his shirt off, of course, you know.
Roller skating.
He is, yeah. I mean, he's impressive. The rollerblading was awesome. To me, it was like, and I'm grading this on a Super Bowl performance scale, not your. I mean, for a concert, I mean, wow, impressive. The stage was awesome. I mean, you're talking about kind of how, like, I feel like Prince, what made his performance special. I feel like he played Purple Rain for like 5 minutes that night and just shredded on the guitar for a minute and a half, a part of it. So it's like, yeah, like you can. Maybe if you focus more, I mean, now Usher is not Prince. Nobody is. So I don't know if he has kind of that hit that you can sit on. I don't know. I thought it was good. I was entertained. I didn't take my eyes off the screen the whole time. I thought the first few minutes was slow with Alicia Keys. If I was going to edit anything, I'd probably edit that whole part out. It was good, but I didn't like. You think about like The Weeknd, and even like you're talking about the Dr. Dre and like that performance where they each like put in like 7 million of their own money. Like Weeknd's like running through like almost like a movie like maze thing in his performance. Dr. Dre and those guys all have like different like little mini houses built as their set. This just felt a little bit like underwhelming to me compared to that. And Ludacris is kind of one of those guys. It's almost like the Fab Five, man. It's like the further and further we get away from it, it's like, man, I don't know about that. That was kind of where I'm at with Luda. I don't know if that's right or wrong. That's just me. The Fast and Furious movies, the all the different money grabs he's done since then. Like it's just kind of he's worn off his shine to me a little bit. So it just was. There's a couple times where I don't know. The guy looked like CeeLo Green. That's who I thought it was. I don't even know who he was. Who was that? Who was that guy?
Jermaine Dupri. He's a rapper, but he's kind of like a producer. Okay. He was big with Ludacris and Usher and all those guys.
Gotcha. Lil Jon was awesome. 100%. That was a nice little jolt of energy when they needed it. But yeah, I thought it was good. Again, grading it on a Super Bowl level scale, I didn't think it was better than the previous 2 Super Bowl performances we've had. It just to me, and that's crazy because The Weeknd, a lot of people were maybe questioning it at the time, but I don't know. I think he put on a better show than Usher did, to be honest, but still an all-time show.
It's kind of funny, you know, and I don't really, these shows are what they are. It's definitely not my bag, but you know, it's a 15-minute halftime thing. Cool. I got time to go to the bathroom if I want to or whatever. But I watched it.
Them. You don't.
I watched it. No, I did. I watched it, and my critique would be, first of all, when he first came out, I thought the sound quality they didn't have that all dialed up like they should have. I thought there was some problems with the sound. Matt, you would know more about that than me.
I saw some tweets about that. There's some issues with Usher's mic.
Yeah, but overall, the performance was fine. I mean, for old geezers and maybe people that don't follow that music, when they did bring out the special guest, it would have been nice just a quick flash of who they are on the screen. I had no clue what they were. I knew Lil Jon.
I mean, but
you know,
that's
I didn't
more
know
of
the other ones.
That's more of a statement of like you shouldn't be bringing out people that people don't know.
Okay.
No offense to this Dupree character.
That's fair.
I mean, you know, he was a mainstay in that performance, man. He had a lot of airtime. And I don't like. Did you, Matt? You seriously knew exactly who that was as soon as they flashed it?
Yeah, when I heard his voice, he's been in so many songs. I knew his voice.
I had no clue.
Yeah. Honestly, I would have leaned into the rollerblading. That was creative. That was awesome.
That was cool.
I think we could have done maybe another minute of that, like or two. And and the funny thing that everybody's pointing out is like they hear you saying basically how we brought the A to the world. It's like. We have a Super Bowl in Atlanta every like 4 years, it seems like, and they never have done this Atlanta crew in Atlanta. So, yeah, I don't know. I again, this is like I remember when I was a kid, and I wouldn't even Prince's like performance. Like, who gives a shit about this? Like
Right.
Rolling Stones. So finally, it's my demographic, and all the performances are way better than they used to be, and they finally started to pick the right people. And Usher deserved a halftime performance, but I just wish there would have been a little bit more pizzazz in it to me.
Yeah, I could agree that Alicia Keys, I mean, she's incredible. Her first note though was not good. Right when she started singing, both my wife and I went, oh. And then she locked in, and then she's amazing. That could have been cut out because the songs that he has with her they're like slow.
Right.
And it almost like, even though they're really good, it almost like brings the energy down. It's like, I feel like I should be slow dancing at a high school dance right now or something. So I could have done without that, and then go longer on the hits with Lil Jon and Ludacris and stuff. And that could have been better.
I think that's what they've gotten away from too. Usher, he's legit, man. He has enough hits. He could have carried most of the show and then bring on one or two special guests, you know, for a short period. I think it took away from him with all these other people out there. Myself,
it was almost like after the Eminem, Dr. Dre, like I wonder if they think that's what they got to do, because you had Eminem, Dr. Dre, 50 Cent showed up.
But think of those
Lamar,
how big of stars those guys are. And like this, just think about comparing, you know, for this, like a basketball team, two basketball teams. It's like, wow, that Dr. Dre performance had a lot more star power to it than this one. So it's like, it didn't match it. But people down south and people like, you know, who love Usher loved it, and I didn't take my eyes off the screen, like I said, and how they do it, it blows my mind. The camera, like in between the rollerbladers, it makes no sense to me how it's done. But just I'll be curious to see who they pick next year. But he put on a damn good show. Looks the same he looked when he was 20. Unbelievable.
He's held up
testament to him taking care of himself. So Usher deserved his moment in the sun. Just a few little things I would have tweaked if I was his manager.
What about then, more from your generation? What about Post Malone singing?
Great,
America the Beautiful. What about that?
Fantastic.
And then from Ted's generation, Reba McEntire doing the national anthem. But I thought I saw so many people saying like, "Wow, Post Malone can sing." I'm not like a huge Post Malone fan. I like him, but I thought everyone knew that about him, that he was a really good singer. He's not just a rapper. So I thought both of those were really good.
And he's starting to kind of cross over. I mean, you saw he was in the full. He's from Texas. He was in the full Texas regalia, man, for that. And he's like kind of been dabbling in country, really. So I mean, he had a good song, "Dial Drunk" with Noah Kahan that you like, Ted, from his SNL performance.
Yeah, that was a really good song.
I mean, honestly, this is where I'm looking toward next year. I mean, we saw Miley Cyrus's Grammy performance. I think I'd target her to maybe do the show. She could put on a damn good show. And I would target Post Malone. I don't think Taylor Swift is going to do it. Bieber wasn't even willing to go out there and do it as a feature. I guess he hasn't performed live in a while. Those are my two top candidates. Who are you guys circling?
Those would be the ones. If we're moving away from my generation, if we're moving away from that, we're obviously probably moved past Ted's. No more Rolling Stones, Ted.
I forgot about that. Your Garth Brooks.
That's my pick.
Miley would be good because she could even do like some classic rock songs. Like you've seen her do some Stevie Nicks and stuff like that. She could do basically anything. Post Malone would be good. He's got a lot of hits, and he could do, a country song. He could kind of do a wide range of songs. But I would be curious because it's got to be a star. I mean, I remember when Maroon 5 did it, a few years ago, 4 or 5 years ago. Again, my generation, I liked Maroon 5, but they weren't like a globally big Taylor Swift, Miley Cyrus, even Dr. Dre, Snoop Dogg, all that. So I remember some people being like, wow, really? Maroon 5 for the Super Bowl halftime? All right. So you got to be choosy with that.
Well, I'll go along with Miley Cyrus. I'm a big fan. I've been a big fan of hers for a long time. She could sing any song, any genre. I mean, it would be a good show, and she'd be outrageous enough to get us talking about it too. Well, you were going to start to talk about commercials, Matt. What do you think about the commercials?
Yeah, I was curious what you guys think, especially you, Ted. You're the TV guy.
Yep.
I've always been. The commercials were never the biggest deal to me. I'd always watch them. Laugh at them. Yeah, Doritos or whatever. Bud Light, Budweiser always used to have good ones. it's just not that big of a deal anymore. I don't know if it's because of social media or because YouTube, or whatever. I don't know what it is, but you see a couple that are really good. And then it really is just like, there's like nothing to it. Like there was a ton of there was like and this is, I'm not making a statement or whatever, but there was like a Jesus ad.
Two of them.
That was kind of weird. And then what's that website, Temu or whatever? It's basically
they had
like
about 5.
Yeah, it's basically like Chinese Amazon is basically what it is. But so now I'm probably going to get the ads on my phone all the time because I'm talking about it. But yeah, they had 5. So, you didn't see the normal Budweiser, Bud Light. Right. Maybe you did, and I didn't notice.
They had like one Budweiser and one Clydesdale commercial that was kind of a dud, really.
Yeah, like Pepsi and Coke.
Like, we're going to have a dog licking a horse's head, and that's going to be cute. That's basically the whole thing of the commercial. Yeah, I don't know. The thing that sucks is they all air before the Super Bowl. I think the big ones, you see them before they even are, hit the airwaves.
Changed. Yeah, it's changed from what it used to be.
But honestly, I thought one of the more creative and kind of cool commercials. And Ted, I know you love this one just because of the music. Why am I blanking on the Queen song? But it was a Pfizer commercial. This is not some vaccine statement. I just thought they had a solid commercial with the different. It was like different guys like mouthing the lyrics, like pictures on the wall. Yeah. I thought that was creative and a good song selection.
That was good. I mean, the big one I think most people are talking about are the Ben Affleck one, probably.
Oh,
right?
Yeah.
I mean, Affleck. That was solid. I mean, with Brady and J-Lo, that was good. And I like the Michael Cera one. He just cracks me up, whatever he does. But overall, I think you set it up right at the beginning, man. It's not like it used to be. It used to be you would not go to the bathroom when it was commercial time. You wanted to see what they came up with, and it's way past that now. Good ones that I think they come up with every year.
Yeah, like you said, Jared. A lot of times you see it on Twitter or wherever, or Facebook, whatever you're on, before the Super Bowl. So it's almost like a buzzkill or whatever you want to say. So it's still kind of, because there are still a few that make you laugh, but overall, the commercials, not what they used to be. But still, Super Bowl Sunday's fun, especially if you can be there in Vegas, I guess.
Well, before we move on to a quick little Tedertainment, it's a big week for the Spartans. If they want to continue to make it to the tournament, I mean, they got Penn State this week and Michigan, 6:00 Saturday night. Hey, we get to watch that one, not on Peacock. We can flip back and forth. Big week for Tom Izzo.
They had the big win over Illinois, so that definitely boosts their resume. And we've said it; they'll find a way to get into the tournament, whether it's winning a couple games in the Big Ten tournament or finishing the regular season strong. But they're going to find a way to get in. And then, like we've been saying for the last month, no one's going to want to play them as long as, they're healthy once they get into the tournament, because they do have experience. That Izzo is going to have them prepared, and they do have some good players when it comes tournament time. So yeah, Michigan State, as usual, rounding into form. It doesn't seem like they're going to all of a sudden fall apart, and lose the last couple of weeks of games and miss the tournament. The big one, I mean, Michigan, Saturday, this is their season. I mean, if you can go in and as Michigan beat Michigan State, and I don't think that would be the game to keep Michigan State out of the tournament, but potentially it would be a very bad loss for Michigan State. So that's what Michigan's circling that. They'll have Doug McDaniel because it's at home. So
is this one Peacock streaming?
No, that was the last one.
What is this one airing? Is it
I would assume Fox, but
okay. If you're Michigan State, and I tell you what, that comeback win they had, and how AJ Hoggard and Izzo basically, got into it, that is exactly what you want to see if you're a State fan. That to me shows like this team is finally starting to take it upon themselves. Hoggard is starting to lead a little bit more than he was maybe willing to at the start of the year. That was all I needed to see ahead of March. It really was. I think that they're going to be experienced. Obviously, they made a decent run last year. They're old. They're finally starting to get it. Izzo's, banging them on the head, finally seemingly getting through. They're looking good, man. And don't be surprised if they beat Michigan by 30. Like, that's where I'm at.
Yeah, they might.
If they do,
you're getting that. Sorry, Ted. You're getting that West Coast time. It's 8:00 Eastern on Saturday. on Fox.
Sorry about that. My
No, you're
mistake.
good. Yeah,
I
it
have
is
to
on
keep
Fox.
up on that.
Yeah.
All right. And on the other side of the coin, Juwan, the pressure's got to keep building, isn't it? I mean, it's ugly down there, man.
I'd be surprised if this is the year. He had said, we've talked about it. I'm saying the same thing I've said a few times with the weird offseason that he had with the surgery and everything. But if they finish the season still dead last in the Big Ten, they've got to do something, whether it's shaking up his staff. It stinks because you got a guy like Phil Martelli, who you thought was going to be like a good mentor for Juwan, and he's got his other guys on his staff that are experienced coaches. But it's like if you keep Juwan and you just run it back with the same staff, like what are you trying to do?
Right.
So I don't know.
Stay tuned.
It wouldn't surprise if I had a feeling it's gonna be they're gonna agree to part ways. Juwan will cite maybe stress and his heart,
Health.
Surgery, health. Yeah, this is the thing, man. We said it time again. I mean, every time we bring up this team, it like just depresses me. It's like, God, they're not fun to watch. Yeah, I mean, think about those like Rich Rod Michigan football teams. Yeah, they weren't great, but man, they were fun to watch. This team, there's nothing to talk about. It's like
Right.
you check the scores, you see another loss, keep seeing the L's pile up in the win and loss column. And you kind of move on with your life. Yeah, you watch them when they play state, and it makes you even sicker to your stomach. And then we do it again the night later. So it's time for a change.
Right.
I mean, I don't know if there's a guy, an assistant who would make sense to elevate. I don't know. I'm not sure what candidates are out there that we could replace. I'm not sure if Juwan will be fired or if they will dismiss him. I wouldn't think it'd be egregious if he got one more year, to just as a got to win now or it is over for you. But just not fun, and it's really putting a damper on this upcoming March Madness tournament.
Yeah, I had a thought before we wrap this up, and we don't have to look it up right now, but before the Spartans beat Illinois, when was the last time that Michigan and Michigan State did not make the tournament? So I was just thinking, what would happen if they didn't make it? I mean, it's been a long time, right?
I mean, Michigan State's on what's the streak right now for Michigan State?
26, 25, something like that.
So, I mean, it's at least been that long. So,
right.
And then Michigan in the 90s, was good. So,
right.
Let's see here.
Probably since the mid 80s or something would be my guess.
It's been a long time. I do know that. It's because it always makes March Madness fun when one of our teams is in it, whether you like Michigan State or not. I like them both, but it was just a question that came up in my mind. I didn't even waste any time looking it up. But
I'm trying to do my research here. It was 1996, 1997. That the last time Michigan State didn't make it, and neither did Michigan. Michigan went to the NIT tournament, and they won the NIT. So under Steve Fisher. So there you go.
Long time ago. Well, the streak will continue, it looks like, for the Spartans. All right, we'll take another short break and wrap this up with a quick little Tedertainment Tonight right after this. All right, guys, I really got just one. Well, two if you included the Beatles show there at the Mirage. But the one show I watched on Netflix, that this is before you guys, but you can appreciate it if you get a chance to watch it. It's on Netflix. It's called The Greatest Night in Pop. And it was how Lionel Richie and Michael Jackson pulled together, and Quincy Jones pulled together all the artists to put together the recording of We Are the World. And it's all kinds of behind the scenes video and whatnot. They made it. They wrote this song. They wanted to help hunger in the world. And they said the only way we can get all these superstar recording artists to do this was do it on a night they're all together. So they were at the American Music Awards, and they put it all together. They worked all night long to record this, all the way till like 8 o'clock the next morning, with all these egos, all these superstars, and pulled it off. And I would say it's well worth the watch. You're gonna see Bruce Springsteen as a young guy, and Lionel Richie and Michael Jackson. It's really, really well done.
I saw a clip of Michael Jackson when he sang his part, and then a couple other people like jumped in and started singing, and he kind of gave them like a side eye. Yeah.
Who really, was he the alpha in that room? Was it Michael Jackson?
Well, he was definitely an alpha in his own world. Michael Jackson is Michael Jackson, but Lionel Richie was really the ringleader. He was the guy that kind of pulled it all together, him and Quincy Jones. And it's just fascinating to see all the behind the scenes stuff. Quincy Jones reached out to Stevie Wonder to see if he would write the song, or maybe no, it was Lionel Richie reached out to him and got voicemail or couldn't make connections to him. He was ghosted for like 3 weeks, so Richie had to pull it together with Michael Jackson to write the song. Stevie Wonder shows up, the song's all written. He shows up finally to help him out. But it's a pretty good doc. I'd recommend it. I'd give it a 3, 3.0 on the 3-point scale.
Especially with all the behind the scenes video, seeing all those artists, like you said, that would be really
stuff.
Cool. Yeah. I haven't really been since the last time we did Tedertainment. Haven't really watched much. It's been whether I'm working or we're just watching whatever we turn on at night after the kids go to bed. But we do have a list. We have a list of things we want to watch. I'm surprised. What's the movie with Zac Efron? Iron Claw.
Yeah.
I'm surprised that hasn't come up. Ted, of course, but I'm surprised. That seems like one you would have watched, Jared.
Yeah, it's one of those things I've been waiting for. As soon as it goes on, whether it's $7.99 or whatever I got to pay for, as soon as it's on those, I think it's some weird thing where I think they have like an exclusive with Apple TV. And so it's maybe taking a little bit longer to go on streaming, where some of these other movies, within a few weeks of it being in theaters, you can rent it for $20. So I think at least that's what I ran into a couple weeks ago when I was kept checking like every day to see if I could rent it. Right. Yeah, that's a big one on the list. Lord of the Rings,
Oh, right.
Slowly but surely making my way through it. Again, I still don't understand what this ring's power is, but we're about 2.5 movies in. I still don't totally get it, but still, I appreciate the battle scenes, and there was a pretty sweet battle at the end of the second one, the Twin Towers. That was pretty cool. Again, it reminds me a lot of Game of Thrones, where you're just kind of blown away with these battles and the CGI and all that. And given the time period, where it was 2000, 2001, it's pretty incredible. So I'll be curious to see how that one plays out down the stretch. We basically, where I'm at with it right now, for those who are latter diehards, we're finding out why Gollum is now, Schmeagol, or Schmeagol is now Gollum, basically because the ring turned him into that creature. So that's where we're at. We just found that out, and surely it seems like Gollum is going to backstab Frodo, and Samwell, I think, is his buddy's name. So that's where we're at. We're following their journey right now to Mordor.
Well,
I appreciate that you're knocking it off in chunks. You're not able to just watch it all.
Impossible. 4-hour movies, and it's like. Genuinely, it's like it's one of those movies where you're watching, you don't know the characters' names, you don't know really what the hell is going on. You just like watching guys get axes, orcs get axes in their chest. So that's where I'm at with it.
Yeah, one of the next ones I'm going to be checking out is on HBO Max, True Detective with Jodie Foster. I'm kind of waiting until they put a few more in the can so I can start watching it, and kind of binge it. So I'm looking forward to that one. All right, guys, I think anything else in sports, anything else we need to get on the table before we wrap this off? Let's do it. All right. Just thanks to all our partners, including Memorial Healthcare's Wellness Center. Talk to their reps, go online, see what discounts are available for memberships, get healthy, get in shape. Also, thanks to our partners, AZee Branding Solutions, Jacobs Insurance Agency, Kori Shook & Associates Real Estate Services, Rivals Taphouse and Grille, and Success Group Mortgage and Servicing. That'll do it. Peace and love, everybody. Be kind. Thanks for listening.